Hello guys, this is my guide. I suck at intros though, so we're just gonna get to it. Wait, I have to give credibility. Okay, peak top 40 with Moon Knight last season with a 70% win rate. Currently one above all with over 100 hours on the same hero. Equal 215. Rank 1 Moon Knight. Moon Knight's primary fire Crescent Dart is his main form of damage. Using it, he fires 3 projectiles that each do 25 damage, equating to 75 damage. This can crit for 2 times the damage, meaning 150 damage if you land all 3 darts. The darts can bounce up to 3 times, losing 20% damage each bounce. They can only bounce to targets and entities such as Namor turrets and Loki clones if they are within a 7-meter distance from the initial target. The darts are a great way to pressure the enemy team while also building ult charge. Moving on, we have his Moonblade. This ability seems nearly identical to his primary fire, only this time it does 80 damage, meaning 160 damage if you crit. Other than that, they are the exact same. The benefit of using Moonblade is that it's one big projectile rather than 3, making it easier to land. Moon Knight's Ancient Ankh is a deployable item that can attach itself to any surface, excluding shields, players, or other entities. Upon landing, this ability briefly pulls enemies towards it. In addition to this, the Ankh can act as a target for Moon Knight to bounce his Crescent Darts and Moonblade off of. Of course, the darts and blades still bounce up to 3 times within 7 meters, losing the same 20% damage per bounce. This ability is really important to Moon Knight. Why, you may ask? Because with it, he can do this. This is called a one-shot combo, or as I like to call it, Ankh assassinations. You do this by left clicking as soon as you Ankh, then animation canceling that left click with your right click, followed by another left click. It's pretty easy. It is his only reliable way of securing kills. Without it, you will find it extremely difficult to secure eliminations. Be mindful when using this ability as it is on a 12-second cooldown. The real skill involving this ability is Ankh placement. For instance, here the enemy team teleported behind us, taking our high ground. If I place my Ankh on the wall, they will just break it before I can use it. Instead, what I do is place the Ankh behind them on the ceiling. This way, enemies have to divert attention away from your team to break the Ankh. Not only does this distract them, it can also buy you time to do Ankh assassinations, build pressure, or ult farm. Furthermore, you can have 2 Ankhs up at once. How can we use this? I often use this when I'm defending on maps such as Quintar and Hall de Jalia. You're given enough time to set up 2 before opponents attack. I recommend placing Ankhs above doorways and in popular areas. Doing this grants you 2 Ankhs already placed and the Ankh in your spare kit, making it so you have 3 Ankhs in total. Another tip: stop throwing your Ankhs past 50 meters. Moon Knight's Crescent Darts have a fall-off damage starting at 30 meters, capping out at minus 50% at 50 meters. And because Moon Knight's darts and blade lose 20% damage per bounce, you are essentially dealing 50% of 75, so 37.5. Then when you bounce that off of the Ankh, you're only dealing 80% of that damage. And sure, the darts can bounce for more damage, but by the time they reach your Ankh, the thing's probably already destroyed. You are using your most important cooldown, and what's the payoff? At most, you are getting maybe 5% ult charge. This is more evident when you're on defense and the enemy team is rushing you. You will not have another Ankh for 12 seconds. There's just better ways to use this ability. Next up, we got Moonlight Hook. Using this cooldown allows Moon Knight to launch a grappling hook, pulling him towards it. This ability is great for setting up and reaching off angles, making it easier for Ankh assassinations. Unfortunately, the ability does have a pretty slow animation and is on a 15-second cooldown. To make the grappling process just a little bit faster, instead of looking around for a place to hook, you can instead grapple the floor, which sends you upward at nearly the same height. Moon Knight's Night Glider allows him to glide in the air. No shit. This is great for stalling, crossing gaps, and spawn rollouts, as the glide speed is faster than the walk speed. Similarly to his grapple, Moon Knight's Rising Leap can be used in the same exact manner. This double jump is on a 6-second cooldown. Use it for taking off angles and high ground. Once you use this ability, the cooldown doesn't start until you hit the ground. To counteract this, just tap your glide key. You can also do this to cancel any vertical momentum. something I often do. Another thing is to know when to double jump. For instance, you get this cringe Hello player who has great aim. It'd be foolish to double jump in the air with no cover when fighting this Hella. If one chooses this route, they're probably dead. It is your job to assess whether or not double jumping would help in your situation. Khonshu is an ultimate ability that, when used, opens a portal allowing Khonshu to bombard those below with his talons. The ultimate lasts 3 seconds and there are 14 talons that fall down, exploding on the ground, each doing 75 damage. You know those annoying support ultimates that just make everybody unkillable and makes you want to strangle the enemy support and watch the life bleed out of their eyes slowly in game? Why won't you die? Well, Khonshu isn't playing around, because this ability has the potential to tear through every single support ult. Now, it is pretty tricky to do this on your own, but let me show you something. This combo is just a free win. Both Moon Knight and Groot build their ult insanely quick enough that you can pull this combo off nearly every team fight. Groot ult disables the enemies from moving outside of Moon Knight ult, securing kills almost every single time, even if they support ult. It must be noted that even though this ult is strong, you should be chucking as much damage as possible into it using your Crescent Darts and Moonblade. This pretty much guarantees eliminations. But what if you don't have a giant tree? Well, maybe you have a sorcerer. One that is quite supreme. Oh my god, huge. This combo isn't nearly as consistent. However, it is still really good. But what if you don't have anyone to combo with? What if it's just me, myself, and I? Well then, remember that Ankh you have? Use that right after placing your ult, because the Ankh pulls people into it. Doing this yanks the enemies into the talons, killing them. This is the weakest of all three, but when you don't have the other combos going, this is the next best thing. Now for the big questions. When and how do you ult? Aside from the combos, I encourage ulting outside of enemy line of sight. Ulting without the enemies knowing is the best thing to do. This way the enemy can't counteract or respond since they'll just die before they know what's happening. You can also use Khonshu to counter other ultimates and abilities, including but not limited to Jeff, Cloak, Adam, Punisher, and Strange Teleport. Moon Knight has a team-up ability with Cloak and Dagger called Full Moon. When cast, it summons a sphere that makes Moon Knight invisible when inside. This ability may be used as a counter to lock-on ults such as Psylocke ult and Star-Lord ult. I occasionally use it when taking angles as another form of protection. Unfortunately, if you take even the most minuscule damage, you will uncloak. And do expect to take damage since the sphere is also visible to enemy players. So don't think you are completely safe. Because the cooldown is 30 seconds, be mindful when using it, especially if they have Star-Lord ult and Psylocke ult. If this world were mine. The Macabre Moon Knight has two playstyles. One involves killing people before they even know what's happening, the other involves farming. The former I call the Assassin playstyle. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't involve rushing the enemy team directly and then beating shit out of them with your truncheons. Believe me, I've tried. You can probably tell by now that off-angling is really important to Moon Knight since it sets up Ankh assassinations. You typically want to eliminate the enemy supports since that would leave your adversaries with no healing. More importantly, you leave the supports with no ult charge because they're dead. The other playstyle I call the Farmer playstyle. It involves shooting at clumps of enemies, ricocheting your damage, building your ult as fast as possible. Shooting the tanks is usually how you want to do this. It's even better when the tanks are Groot or Penny because they have big chunky hitboxes with no shield. To make it quick, use the Farmer playstyle when playing for Moon Knight Groot, and use the Assassin playstyle for when you aren't. So what is strong about Moon Knight and what is weak about him? Mark Spector is really good at damage. His ricocheting darts build a ton of pressure on the enemy team. His Ankhs are incredibly dangerous as one well-placed one can secure a kill easily. While this White Angel of Death is great at offense, his defense is not as good. Mr. Knight's hitbox is pretty flarking large. With only 250 HP, it's easy for him to die, which I suppose is lore accurate, but dying sucks. His movement abilities don't help either. They're either on too long of a cooldown, or they're too slow, or both. So it's best not to rely on them for escape. Rather, play like you have a string attached from you to your team. The farther away you play, with more obstructions between you guys, the harder it is to be pulled back to your team, making it harder for you to live. Play like you're made of glass, fragile, and if anything hits you, of course, positioning helps, but I believe the main thing when playing Moon Knight is awareness. It's always best to know where everyone is, knowing where you can work and live. Counters, 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 counters. You know what counters Moon Knight? Dive. Really anything that can move and kill counters Moon Knight. The most popular counters include Panther, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Fist, Magic, Psylocke, Spider-Man, and Venom. Looney Mooney also struggles in range battles against heroes like Hela, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Star-Lord. Although you should never be taking those fights. Obviously, he gets countered by flyers such as Storm and Iron Man. If you're like me, you'll play Moon Knight into these guys regardless. When playing Moon Knight against Dive, you're gonna have to play a bit more passive, more with your team. Also, do not fight these heroes on your own, especially Psylocke. You will die. Playing Moon Knight into Dive is really hard, so don't be discouraged switching. It is completely understandable. What team comps work with Moon Knight? For one, triple support works well with him since nothing triple support dies. Mooney can live, meaning more vengeance. Surprisingly, Moon Knight also works in dive comps since you can Ankh and ult your team's dives. It's also helpful to have your other DPS be someone who can do what you can't. Heroes like Hela, Star-Lord, and Punisher can fight flyers and take those dangerous range battles that I said you usually can't take. Anyways, guys, that's my guide. I don't really know what to do for an outro. I kind of suck at those. Like the video and stuff because that's what you do when you like something. Unless you didn't like my guide, and then I'll just be sad and I'll contemplate on making another one, and I'll probably will make another one. And if that one does bad, then it'll just be a cycle. And okay, but in all seriousness though, like the video if you like it. If you didn't, sorry. Subscribe if you want to subscribe. Turn on notifications. That would help me. Go follow my Twitch. I stream on there pretty much every single day. Come stop by and chat. Khonshu knows how much I love to talk. And yeah, later. If this world were mine. You're still here. It's over. Go back to home. Oh, you probably expected a big announcement. I don't have enough followers for that. I mean, what do you think was gonna happen? A big streamer to show up with a Twitter post online? Go. Just go. Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. On the 21st, doing a stream, a long stream, not ending it until I get Lord on the thing. Gonna be running it down in comp. You should join. Stop by, all that. It's gonna be huge. Anyways, big secret. Shh. Also, don't ban my hero. It's a total dick move. Go.